Alright, so inking my monster slash dragon. Just going to cut down a few of the heavier pencil areas I left in there when I was sketching them. I went pretty loose on it, just because I wanted to get kind of a fun shape in there still. I think we're gonna look at a couple different options for how to do scales for our monsters, our dragons. And I'll do those on the side, and then we'll think about it, all of us together, and then I'll put them on. I'll put them right on here at the end. So I just did the teeth and the inside of the mouth. I'm just going to add some details for the outside here. His nose. I'm not going to get super detailed on this part just yet. I think there's a real danger when you're working on dragons and monsters that have scales that you can spend a lot of time working on the scales, and if you mess up, you wreck your drawing. So you always have to determine for yourself what is going to be the right balance of scales and detail versus no detail. So I'm going to build out my monstery arms here. I want them to be kind of big and lumbering. There's some thinner lines on the inside just to kind of hold things and define where they're at. Then I'll have some of these bigger lines along the outside. This one I want to try to come forward just a little bit. So I'm going to try to have some even thicker lines coming forward, and even on his hands. I want his fingers to be a little bit scary, so try to have everything come down to a point too. Scary claws. I'm using my favorite pen here. It's got a nice brush nib on it. Lets me put down a lot of ink or a little bit of ink if I want. I get some nice brush-like strokes. Try to make some little turtle claw feet there. Got my little monster tail. And again, a couple of thicker lines that go to thinner. Just trying to bring this forward a little bit. I do have these thick lines back here though. So I'm going to kind of evaluate those against each other and see if I think they're all the right thickness or if I should make some a little bit thicker than others. I'm kind of making up these feet right now. But I always recommend, if you can have some reference on hand, it's always nice to add a little bit of something real to your drawings. So like real lizard feet or something would be a nice touch, or maybe give you some insight that will enhance your drawing. Make that line a little heavier, and make this line a little heavier. Really wanted to feel kind of thick and chunky at the bottom. Alright, and I have some other lines in there already from my pencil that I'm going to leave alone, not ink right now. I mentioned we talk about how to do some scales. So we have some choices for scales. We also talked about trying to achieve a good balance between detail and shapes. Because I could fill in the whole thing with the patterns, but then you might not be able to tell what's going on. With a little bit of effort, you can actually make the patterns work with the body. I think that's a nicer way to go. So now we have to decide what way are we going to ink up this Godzilla scales. It's a really great question. I'm going to pick my thin pen to do his belly scales. And his neck. I want to have those thin lines on there so that I can build them out a little bit. I'm actually going to come back across. I'm not going to use a real heavy pen for these guys. Just kind of hint at some claws there. And kind of hint at some knuckles. All right, so I got all those little extra lines on there. Just going to add a couple lines coming back across here. Just going to do these light lines this way. Give it a little bit of variation across his body. But I'm also doing this because I think I'm going to come back and color this guy. And when I come back and color him, there's going to be some detail that I come back to. And so I don't want to have it too heavy when I come back. Always give a little extra detail around the eyes and make them wrinkly. It's really good for lizards. Extra lines around the feet. I'm actually going to throw a little bit of a slight herringbone or crosshatch that way. Just because I love them, I can't help it. And that's the rough ink on Godzilla right there. We're going to do a little bit of work in color to finish it off.